Today I want to talk about a meme that I searched out because I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about for a while. So the meme I found goes, Disney, Rey is the chosen one. Me, an intellectual. And a picture of young Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars Episode 1. I'm a person and my name is Anakin. Now I've chosen this one because I'm kind of going to go away from the structure I've been doing so far and talk about something else, which is Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Because I hate this movie. I hated it. I was mildly entertained by some of the things that were happening. I love the original Star Wars trilogy, so I was happy to see elements of the story continue, but I hated it. And I hated the entire sequel trilogy. And I've been trying to work out what it was that I hated so much about the final installment. And in doing this, I've been watching lots of YouTube videos of people who have Star Wars blogs or vlogs, or just movie channels talking about it and tearing it to pieces. I haven't really actually found any that defend it because it's a mess. It's a trash pile on fire of a movie, and I'm not going to go into why in detail because I will post in the description below some of the videos I've seen who do it much better than me in a much more entertaining way than I could. But that's not what this is about. It's about an underlying thing that I have not seen in any of those videos explained explicitly. So today I watched Jenny Nicholson's video, Oh No, The Rise of Skywalker Was Really Bad, sad face. So she has a Star Wars channel. She posts videos about Star Wars. This was the first video of hers I'd seen. It's over an hour long, and it's a list of all the things that are stupid about this movie. I recommend it. I will put a link in the description below. But there was one point that made something click in my mind, and it's when she's talking about the problem with Rey being a Palpatine. And every video had a problem with this. Some with the concept, some with the execution. And Ms. Nicholson here said that it was both of these things. She had predicted this would happen as a joke, and then it came true, and she was aghast. And I'd read this as a possibility beforehand, and so I wasn't surprised when it happened, just disappointed. I wasn't angry, just disappointed. And it's taken me, this is 5 months now, and lots of these YouTube videos to finally make it click what is so disappointing about this. And it's the fact that it fits with what I've always been saying about Disney, all of my friends who don't want to listen, and that's that they are destroying cinema with a deliberate effort to subvert activist thought through the idea of prophecy. Now that sounds like a conspiracy theory that I would say mid-table of the Premier League of conspiracies I did in my last video. But this is something I've been saying for a while. Now, a little caveat. When I was a younger man, I wrote a movie blog. This was well over 10 years ago, so YouTube was not the phenomenon it is today. No, this was 2009, 10, 11. And one of the pieces I wrote was about a movie that I absolutely hated. Really hated. It's the last thing I wrote for this blog. I stopped writing after I had talked about this movie, because I had said that it was going to be the turning point towards the death of cinema as a viable media. And I said this because of the film Alice in Wonderland from 2010, the Disney live-action remake, sequel, thing, mess that they did that made over $1 billion. That was my reaction at the time, was that this terrible, terrible movie that contradicted its own philosophy made $1 billion. That was my initial problem with it. But since then, and the way that cinema has been going since then, I've been going back more and more to this movie being ironically prophetic. But not prophetic, but an indicator of what was to come. Hopefully you haven't seen this atrocious movie, but if you have, you will remember that Wonderland has become a dark place, and that Alice is prophesied to return and save them. This idea of a written prophecy completely contradicts Lewis Carroll's world originally, which was a world of mayhem where nothing followed and there was no cause and effect, especially precognitive effect. The idea of a prophecy in Wonderland, as Lewis Carroll wrote, is as much of a contradiction as I can fathom. And this movie made $1 billion. And I saw it as a negative thing, and it's continued. So I'll just spend a minute now talking about what Disney have done since. I'm not going to go through every movie they've done. They've done a lot in the following 10 years. But there are a couple I'd like to pick out. So this was the time that they had bought Pixar as well. And in the following 10 years, they've bought Marvel, which fits in perfectly with what I'm trying to say, and bought Lucasarts, and their treatment of Star Wars is similar. So I'll quickly go through a few of these. So in 2010 they made Alice in Wonderland. They also made Tangled at the time, which I quite liked as a movie. I loved the romantic song at the end. But then the following movies were released, and I'm going to mention a couple, but there are a lot of remakes and sequels in here, so I'll just pick out the key ones. They made, in 2011, Mars Needs Moms, absolute bomb. Pirates of the Caribbean 4, Cars 2 from Pixar, which is probably already slated because of how much money they'd made from marketing. And they did a remake of Winnie the Pooh, which is a nice, sweet movie. So this transition is taking time, but it's coming through. 2012 they made Brave with Pixar, which was fine, and they made Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph is a decent movie, but one moment of it really annoyed me, and it's that Vanellope at the end turns out to be a princess. She is the chosen one of this game. She's not just a great driver who has a glitch. She is the chosen one of this game. Didn't like that. The same year, they made Oz the Great and Powerful, which again, making a film celebrating the wizard in The Wizard of Oz contradicts L. Frank Baum's message. It contradicts the message of the 1939 movie. It contradicts the essence of Dorothy as a character. Then there was Monsters University for Pixar, probably forced to make another sequel. The Lone Ranger, there's the sense of Native American prophecy. Seem to remember at some point Johnny Depp's Tasteless Tonto mentioning a prophecy of a Lone Ranger. They also made Frozen then, which I have a lot of issues with, but doesn't quite fit here. They made Big Hero 6, which is about children who are genius beyond anything that is reasonable. It's a cartoon movie, so it's fine, but these heroes are, I would say, 6 times bigger than anyone could fathomably be. They made Tomorrowland about the future of capitalism. Free enterprise could make this world if only we allowed it. That was 2015. When Pixar made Inside Out, lovely movie, fantastic. I'm sure that had been slated since before Disney took over. But they also made The Good Dinosaur, which is Disney harbouring about this old-fashioned American idea of cowboys as saviours. There's a lot of going back. There's a lot of remakes in these Disney movies as well, thinking about the past. There's a reason that Make America Great Again was such a popular idea in 2016. Disney did no small part in helping that idea for the previous, I've just mentioned 5 years. There's plenty more. Then they started with their big money live action remakes like The Jungle Book. They did Alice 2. And then 2017 was Moana. This was the next big animated movie after Frozen. Zootopia was fine, but this one was new Disney princess. And they even twisted it. She's the daughter of a chief. She's a princess, but whatever. And I was fine with that. It's the fact that this entire story hinges on the idea that she is chosen by the ocean. And this is my issue with all the movies I've just mentioned. There are more as well. Disney doesn't let anything happen that can cause significant change that isn't prophesized or including a chosen one. Moana was chosen by the ocean. That's the only reason she can do anything. As an aside, the one thing she is doing is economic expansion of her island. They go off and conquer new islands. When in a movie where nature is given physical form, to go to a new island is conquest. But that idea, people being born, needing space to have people, wasn't even the big issue. It was the idea that she had to be the chosen one. It couldn't be just someone. In this time they bought the Marvel film rights and continued this idea of superheroes. We can't save the day. Superheroes can. There are hints that people can. One of those is the Wakandans in the Black Panther movie and their influence in the Avengers. But that is a regulation-free capitalist society, really. There are a lot of beautiful elements about African heritage, but Disney pushes this Ayn Rand libertarian idea of freedom, and the Black Panther is basically a king. There are more sequels and remakes, and sequels to remakes, and these themes continue. In The Lion King, it has to be the king's son who does it. In Lady and the Tramp, it's a glorification of wealth. In Aladdin, even in Aladdin, it follows the same as the 1992 movie. He is the diamond in the rough. He is the chosen one. He's the only one who's allowed in the Cave of Wonders. Disney has been doing this for a long time. But they're really pushing the chosen one since Alice in 2010. Even this year, delayed because of the coronavirus, but Mulan, the woman playing Mulan, Liu Yifei, is an outspoken defender of the Chinese government against Hong Kong protesters. She is defending this capitalist idea because there's no denying that they twist Marxism to a huge extent to fit their narrative of capitalist free market expansion. And also, they bought Lucasarts and started this sequel trilogy. And they needed a chosen one. They needed a Moana chosen by the ocean. They needed a Alice chosen by a scroll. They needed a person who no one could realistically be inspired by because they are not chosen. And so they made Rey chosen by the Force. Okay, you can get away with it. You can blag it fits with the Star Wars universe. And then Rian Johnson did what he did. He made Rey no one. And what do you do if you make the most powerful being in the galaxy no one? You inspire the galaxy. The last shot of Rian Johnson's admittedly bad movie, but the last shot is the point of the movie. A small child with a ring with the logo of the Resistance. The point of Rian Johnson's movie is to take away this idea of prophecy, of chosen one, and that the Resistance cannot come from one person saving the day. It's not Luke blowing up the Death Star. It's not Anakin bringing balance to the Force. It is Rey coming from nowhere, having talent, that talent being nurtured by Leia, that talent being accompanied by Poe Dameron and the rest of the Resistance, that talent inspiring rebellion from the negative side. Even JJ Abrams included Finn as a defector from the negative side, from the dark side. How did they not include Finn and the new girl Finn inspiring stormtroopers to lay down their weapons? How did they not include that in the movie? Because Disney didn't allow them. That's my conspiracy theory in this. But JJ Abrams set this up in his first movie. Rian Johnson ran with it. And then something must have happened to not let them go through with these storylines. And they stick with Rey as the chosen one. Let's make her a Palpatine. Why does she have this connection that we set up? Oh, it's because she's from a great family. She's not from a great family. The great family of Palpatine has one Force user that we know of. The great family of Skywalker has 3 before Ben Solo. And Han is infamously without Force powers. So you take these forced ideological ideas that Disney puts in its movies of prophecy and chosen one. Bernie Sanders asks everyone to get together. That means Bernie Sanders is not Moana. He is not chosen by the sea. He is chosen by the people. And the people in these movies make poor choices. The masses in these movies are wrong. The masses in Moana stick with the chief. Moana goes out on her own. The masses in Wreck-It Ralph stick with the game. They don't listen to the glitch, who turns out to be a princess. The masses in Frozen are scared of Elsa's power. Disney is regressive in its ideas. It is making such small advances in tiny little things like white male gayness or white female gayness that it's not allowing anything else like main character identity. And it was a relief to me to hear this in this video from Jenny Nicholson after watching so many others, that it helped me realize that it was this Disney idea of Alice as the chosen one, Oz the great and powerful as a hero, not a villain, and of Moana, a princess of colour, representing a new shape of body to a princess. You can only do that if you're the chosen one. Rey, strong female lead, or a Mary Sue, or a mess, or a disaster. Daisy Ridley did her best, but the character is a mess, and the answer that they came up with was, okay, she's Alice, she's the chosen one. Even though this saga has a chosen one, the last one is called The Rise of Skywalker, because the series is about the story of Anakin Skywalker. And they don't mention him in the second half of the movie. He shows up as a member of the light side of the Force, which he wasn't. Except for one moment before his death. The Rise of Skywalker was a mess, but it fits with this Disney Empire machine pushing the idea that you can only follow prophetic characters. You can only follow chosen ones. Bernie is not chosen. Bernie fills a gap at the top left by a movement of people. These movies don't have movements of people anymore. They are about chosen ones. And it's very frustrating to see again and again these movies doing this. So I found this meme on me.me. I don't know who posted it, but thank you for your meme. And thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far.